All right, here we go. Buy or sell. Joe Burrow will return to MVP caliber form this season.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Every time that he's come immediately back from an injury, it's taken a little time. And that is also typically on pace with, we've never seen him come back mid-season, correct? Yeah. Every injury that he's had until this point has done him in for the season, or it's before the season started. And we don't know if it's a slow start for him to come back from injury or if that's just on par with how this team typically starts, which is slow. Obviously, 2023, when he had the calf injury, he did not look like a good quarterback for those first 4 games. In fact, I think PFF had him graded as one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. I still believe that with this offense, the way that this offensive line, and I think that's one of the questions going forward, but with the way this offensive line's playing under Joe Flacco, if Jamar Chase, T. Higgins are there, there's nothing that has shown me in Joe Burrow's career that makes me think that he's anything other than an MVP talent. And until I see that, I'll continue to believe that every time he takes the field, takes snaps for the Cincinnati Bengals, that he will be an MVP caliber talent. So, yeah, I'll buy that he will return to MVP caliber. Obviously, he's not going to win over. He's going to play a few games. But MVP caliber player into where he's one of the elite quarterbacks of the game. What say you, Stone Shields?
Yeah, it's clearly a buy to me. I mean, all he's done throughout his career when he plays in December and January is play like an MVP. I got no reason to believe that it's going to be any different this year. We've seen him do it with bad offensive lines. As you mentioned, we'll talk about that in a second. I don't think this offensive line is good, but I think it has shown a little bit of improvement, certainly from start to finish. And I'd say it probably has, gone a little bit better than the expectations going into the year. But this isn't something where it's a significant wrist injury that could, prohibit his ability to throw the football. It's not a knee injury. It's a toe. He seems to be moving around just fine. Maybe the mobility isn't clearly or fully back, but Joe Burrow has proven that he can be elite from within the pocket. Maybe that's how he'll operate here when he comes back. But, yeah, no reason to believe that he can't be at an MVP caliber form when he does return. Jamar's going to be back after the suspension. You hope T stays healthy, but as long as those 3 are out there, you expect a lot of points offensively.
How do you think that appeal is going to go with Jamar?
Probably not well. I mean, that's about as clear as day as it gets. It is funny. There are some people out there in this day and age of AI trying to say it's artificial intelligence, or maybe it's just a bad angle and it kind of went by Jalen Ramsey. But I think to you and I, it seems pretty clear that he'd spit on him. It went.
The people that said that it went by him are a special kind of delusional. They're like, we didn't even spit on him. He was just spitting. He was just okay, whatever. Yeah. Like, what's it matter if he hit his shoulder, hit his face mask, or hit by the side? If he spit towards his way, he was clearly doing something demeaning. But regardless.
When Jalen Carter spit on Dak, was that in his face? Do you remember?
It was before the game.
Right, they were literally going out for the first play, I think.
It was before the game, and I do not remember. I didn't even see it live. I just heard. I hadn't turned on the game yet for that game. I do not remember.
Yeah. Because, he spit on him. But it didn't – where did it go? Like on his shoulder? Yeah. So maybe it's not.
So it's not a headshot. It's not a headshot. You get the extra points. It's a 2-game suspension if you spit on his face. If you spit on his jersey, it's just a 1-game suspension. Yeah. Guess there's there's tears to this.
Yeah, exactly. All right, buy or sell. The Bengals' revamped offensive line is finally good enough to protect Burrow consistently. Buy or sell?
So I'm going to sell this. I do think that the line is probably the best it's been. Am I off by saying that? I think it's probably the best it's been in the Joe Burrow era. Not that that's a tall task. Not that that's a tall bar to jump over. But I do think it's the best it's been. The reason I'm selling this is because the question is to finally protect Burrow consistently. And I think that, unfortunately, I've got no reason to believe this other than what I've seen. I think Joe Burrow that's just who he is as a player, that he gets banged up quite a bit. There's some players that play their entire career. Eli Manning, I don't think ever hit the IL. Cal Ripken Jr. never got hurt. There's some players that get hurt a lot. There's some players that don't. I don't know if it's genetic mega. I don't know what it is, but that's just the case that we're in. And unfortunately, our elite MVP caliber quarterback is one of the players that gets hurt more often than not. And he's admittedly been hit a lot. He's been hit pretty much more than any quarterback in the league since he's joined the league and the games that he's played, because he's obviously missed missed a ton of games. But I don't believe that this offensive line is able to protect Joe Burrow consistently, even though I do believe it's the best offensive line he is, because the only offensive line that I think can protect Joe Burrow consistently and not have him ever be injured would involve an Anthony Munoz, an Orlando Pace, Jason Kelce, whoever the greatest offensive lineman, you name them. That's what it would take, because I think, unfortunately, Joe Burrow is just injury prone. He just is injury prone. Doesn't detract from him when he's on the field at all, but when you scale him as a quarterback, he is injury prone because that's what he's shown us to be. Stowe?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to sell this. We're going to talk about this with Paul. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, what the plan is for the offensive line, because I think you got to give Scott Peters some kudos, the new offensive line coach here, year one. They're playing with 2 rookies, and it's not like it's a first-round pick out there either. You know, it's Fairchild, a third-round guy, Jalen Rivers, a fifth-round guy. I think it has gotten a little bit better as the season has gone on. I do think it's fair to say they took a step in the wrong direction in the game against Pittsburgh. I think you started out that game, and you're like, oh, wow, you know, you're running the football a little bit, you're picking up third downs, pockets kind of holding in there for Joe Flacco. You go down and score a touchdown immediately. And I feel like progressively as the day went on, it got just a little bit worse. And it wasn't like, oh, you know, the pocket's collapsing and Flacco's getting blown up, which is kind of what we saw the first couple of weeks, right, where it's like these guys aren't doing anything. They're hardly even standing there. They're just kind of olaying these defenders to the quarterback. But there's a couple times on the interception, if it just holds up a little bit longer, maybe you're able to complete that. Obviously, when you look at it in the game, it just looks like a horrible decision. But I do think the hit there on the pick impacted Joe Flacco a little bit, and there were a couple plays down the field where Noah Fant was open and he just wasn't quite able to get to him because he just barely ran out of time. So, you know, I feel a little bit more comfortable with Burrow coming back with how they're playing right now, but I still think you need to evaluate that group this offseason. We all, you know, have been very frustrated with Orlando Brown. The rookies are coming along a little bit, but I wouldn't say I've got a ton of confidence to fully buy that. And, you know, look, you're playing quarterback in the NFL. It's not going to be perfect where you're to Tom Brady in New England. You literally don't get touched. That's not going to happen, right? You're going to get hit. It's just a matter of, you know, hopefully not getting as hit as often as he was in the past.
All right, next one.
All right, buy or sell. Trey Hendrickson has played his last game. This one's interesting.
Played his last game this season.
Yeah.
I should caveat, and there's a caveat on the next one because I found a typo on my next one. This is interesting because there's not been any major reporting that says that he is out for the year or he's going to require some serious help or anything like that. Like it pretty much is week to week. I only bring this up because I fear that he's not going to be ready this week. He's not going to be ready for Thanksgiving. And if this team, similar to the same conversation we've had about Joe Burrow, if we should bring him back, I think Trey Hendrickson will look around and be like, should I come back? Knowing that I'm an over-the-hump edge rusher, should I come back and play for this team? I have a body of work that somewhat speaks for itself, and I know I'm going to be deterred and some money because they're going to say, well, you're an over-the-hump player and you just missed 13 games in a season. If you don't play for the rest of this year, how can we give you big-time money? But I wonder if Trey Hendrickson is if he's never going to be at 100%, if he's not going to be at 100% for the rest of this year, and this team has nothing to play for, which it is appearing that is the case. It actually is probably the case. Then does Trey Hendrickson decide for himself, I'm not going to play if I'm not 100%. I'm at 80%, and it's just not worth for me going out there knowing that I still have some contract to play for. I will sell this, having said all of that, because it's a odds game. I think if you ask me what are the odds that he comes back and plays a game for the rest of this year, I'd say it'd be about 80%. Any game for the rest of this year, I'd say it's up over 80%. But we will see. We will see. I will buy that he will play again, or I guess I will sell that he has played his last game this year, just because I think at some point he will come back. But I just want to get in your guys' brain, what happens if he's never going to be at 100% and the Bengals are 3-10? Is Trey Hendrickson going to go out there and be like, you know what, I'm going to play. I'm going to go play for these last 4 games? So?
Yeah, this one's tough. I'm gonna learn a lot about Trey Hendrickson if he decides to come back. I'm gonna gain a lot of respect for him if he does indeed decide to come back. But I kind of feel like he's done in Cincinnati this year, right? I mean, he's proven. Say what you want, but Trey Hendrickson has proven he's a selfish player. that has gone on for several years now throughout the off seasons,
Mm-hmm.
how he handles himself, what he says through the media. He has proven that he's a selfish player. But the caveat to that was, well, when it was time to play football, he was always out there going to battle with his boys, and he had done that, right? But now he's sitting there, he's looking up at the record, going up there cooked this year. He's already frustrated with the organization because, yeah, they gave him a big-time raise this year, but they didn't give him any long-term security. And if you're him, and the body of work that you've put out there, he has a couple of sacks this year. Obviously hasn't played a ton, but somebody will pay him based off his performance this year and certainly his performance the past couple of years. And the business decision would be obviously not to come back. And, I kind of feel like Trey Hendrickson would do that. It's different, with Joe Burrow. Burrow obviously is the quarterback. He's the face of the franchise. He's the face of the city. There's more motivation for him to come back. But if you're Trey Hendrickson here, you don't have a contract for next year, and you've been banged up, you're aging, you're frustrated with the organization, your team's out of it. I don't know. I think he's probably played his last down with the Bengals.
Oh, man. I did not expect you to buy that. You know what's interesting about that is you said, and I agree with you, he has shown nothing other than being a selfish player. And I agree with you there. You might not agree with this, though. I don't think any worse of you for being a selfish. This is your career of choice. This is what you had God-given talent, and this is what you've worked hard for your life to do, and you've earned the right as a player to take care of your family, to as your career choice, to do what's best for you. And if what's best for you is earning as much money as possible, doing what's best for you is what's best for you. No hard issue. I do also reserve the right, as a fan of the team, to criticize you when you do take those, selfish stances. Like, you have the right to do it. I have the right to as a fan, criticize you for doing so. I don't think any worse of you. It is what it is. Like, you're a selfish player, and there's some in this game, even saying what I just said about how you have the right to take care of your life, take care of your family, take care of all this stuff. There are players out there that choose not to do that and still have the spirit of, this is a team effort. I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna, take a little less in money or put my body at will because all these guys, we're all going to war together every single Sunday against the biggest, strongest, and most athletic human beings in this country. So I don't think any less of Trey Hendrickson, but he has proven to be a selfish player. So we'll see. That's why I threw it out there. That's why I asked this question of, if he's not at 100%, which I don't think he's ever going to be at 100% for the rest of this year. If he's not at 100% and this season's done, what is he going to go out there and play? Is he going to go out there and play for the 3-10 Bengals? I don't know. Also worth mentioning that as an over the 30 edge rusher, by him only playing 4 games this year, I think he's played 4 games this year. Mm-hmm. By him only playing 4 games this year, he has drastically hurt his marketability. Yeah. Like, if he was 28, no one would care. It'd be like, all right, we've seen this guy be an all-pro. We've seen this guy lead the league in sacks. He's 28 years old, but now he's going to be, 32? People will care that he only played 4 games this previous year. All right, next one is for the next buy or sell. I had the typo. Not for this year, next year.
Okay. And for the record, Trey Hendrickson, still the best free agent signing in the history of the franchise, and it's a darn shame that they weren't able to, win a world championship with him, because I think, what he does on the field, I think he's a world championship caliber pass rusher, no doubt. Next one here, buy or sell. We will see Chase, Higgins, Hendrickson, and Burrow all in stripes next year.
So this is kind of in vain of the last question.
Yeah.
Right? The most likely of those players to not come back is Trey. The most likely to come back is Joe and Jamar. And then we'll put T at a slightly less capacity to come back than those two. There would have to be, for Jamar, T, or Joe to leave, all those guys are dang near 100% to come back and play for the Bengals next year. For any of those guys to leave this year, it would require this season to go off the rails more than it already has, and for this team to finish 4-13, 3-14. Zach Taylor's gone. Joe Burrow's disgruntled. He wants a trade. Jamar Chase, and then we just strip it all down. To where if we're not seeing one of those guys, one of those 3, we're probably not seeing most of them. Like, if there's a world in which we trade T. Higgins, we're probably trading at least Joe or Jamar. Like, it's like those 3 are in it or they're not in it. Now, the big one is Trey Hendrickson. And I am actually under the belief that coming into next year, the most likely team that Trey Hendrickson is playing for is in Cincinnati. I think that this team is working under the premonition that they are not good because it's abundantly clear that they cannot draft defensive players. And their edge rushers that they asked to step up and fill the role of Trey Hendrickson, Myles Murphy, who played okay on Sunday but still hasn't been good, and Shamar Stewart, who when he is here, which he hasn't been here a whole lot, has been absolutely abysmal. When those two players have shown no capacity to be star-level players, then you are kind of handcuffed into go, okay, well, Trey Hendrickson is a star-level player. We've got to pay this guy. So I think that the Bengals will be handcuffed into making another deal with Trey. I think the franchise tag's $35 million, which I will admit that I think if we offer him the franchise tag this year, he will take it. He doesn't have an option to take it. He won't. $35 million for 1 year of work for Trey Hendrickson. I think he will be over the moon excited for that. But I have been wrong before. We'll see. I think the most likely scenario is that Trey Hendrickson is a Cincinnati Bengal next year. And even if it's only like a 30 or 40% chance that he's a Cincinnati Bengal next year, it's still more likely than any other team in the league. So I'll buy. I think we'll all see them in stripes next year.
I will sell. Chase and Higgins, they'll be back. There's, people think it's fun to talk about trading them or whatever. They just signed their big-time extensions. The whole plan was that, we're going to go with Burrow, we're going to go with Chase, we're going to go with Higgins, and that's going to be the identity of our football team, and that's going to be our path to a world title. Game and a half in, you lose your quarterback, and you got no choice but to try it again next year and hope those guys can stay healthy. But I think the Bengals are done with Trey Hendrickson. I think the whole point of, giving him his raise was like, you know what, we're going to make you happy this year. We need you this year. Because mind you, the expectation, it's crazy to say now when you see how bad this defense is and how bad their record is right now, the expectation and the goal was to win the Super Bowl this year. This wasn't like, we'll bring Trey Hendrickson here for this year and maybe we'll sneak into the playoffs. No, that was – we're going to keep these guys together for one more year, and it is going to be our push to win a Super Bowl. Obviously, that hasn't happened. They have fallen dreadfully short of that, and I think the organization will realize, okay, even if we bring him back, we are still a ways away on the defensive side, and we need to figure out what to do with that money other than give it to an aging guy that hasn't been out there and available, and that is a selfish player. They got to mix it up, and I would be shocked if Trey Hendrickson was back next year. I think they went all in on, let's try it one more year and see how it goes, and it just completely blew up in their face. Maybe if you're in a situation where the defense was like, okay, they're serviceable, and you back your way into the playoffs, maybe you consider it, but even bringing Trey Hendrickson back, what's that going to do for this unit?
Well, I asked the question I think that was the plan. That was clearly the plan for this year.
Yeah.
Was Trey Hendrickson going to play one more year? Someone between Shamar Stewart or Myles Murphy will step up as a legitimate number one pass rusher. And point blank, neither one has. They haven't. Not even close, to be honest with you. Rotational pieces at best. And I think the Bengals are going to go in this offseason and they'll look at their options here. There's about 4. Option 1 is, all right, we're going to ride with Shamar Stewart and Myles Murphy. Shake Trey's hand and say, good luck elsewhere. Option number 2, realizing that Shamar and Myles Murphy aren't it. Okay, well, then we got to sign Trey Hendrickson again because we know that he is it. Option 3 would be to bring in another free agent defensive end because I think we all know that Shamar Stewart and Myles Murphy aren't it. So now we're looking, all right, how do we fill the gap? Is it sign Trey Hendrickson? Is it sign another free agent? Or do we go for it again in the draft? We've used 2 of our last 3 first-round picks on edge rushers, and they both failed miserably. Now we're going to have a better pick this year, more likely. We're not going to have the 18th pick in the draft, or the 27th pick in the draft. It's going to be a high draft pick. But I think the Bengals are going to weigh their options, and they're going to realize that the best option is to pay Trey Hendrickson $30+ million for a year or 2. So we'll see.
All right. Buy or sell. The Bengals defense will be viable in 2026.
I don't think that you can buy this, and I don't think you can gauge what we've seen, both in how they've played, both in the development and how we've drafted, and buy that they will be viable, and you're being honest to yourself. Like, if you are being honest to yourself, if you're being honest to you and your friends and your family and fellow fans about this team being viable next year, you cannot be honest and say, yes, they will be viable next year, because there's not one shred of evidence that lends itself to the case. This team, everything we've seen, is that they will not be. The only hope is quite literally that hope. It's just, they can't be bad for forever. Things got to turn around eventually. They got to hit on a draft pick eventually. There's not one shred of evidence that will show you that this team has been viable. So, yeah, I'm selling that this defense will be viable.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. Yeah, we'll cross our fingers. Yeah, we'll hope. But you can't sit here and say that you feel confident enough to buy this, that they're going to be better. There's going to be – I mean, they had to make wholesale changes, right? But you can't cut everybody. Like, some of these guys are still going to be playing, and somebody needs to step up drastically, and you have to hit on draft picks, and you have to hit on free agent signings. All of those things, the organization has proven that they can't execute in recent memory. So, yeah, unfortunately, there's no way you can sit here and buy this.
Hey, before we move on to the final 5 minutes of the show, I just looked up because I was curious, because I was when I brought up the Trey Hendrickson thing, and you're of the opinion that he's not going to come back, and I'm of the opinion that he will, because I think the Bengals will weigh their options and go, all right, well, we need an edge rusher. We need a star edge rusher. How are we going to get it? Is it going to be in the draft? Is it going to be another free agent? Guess who the number one, according to an ESPN article that came out 6 days ago, guess who the number one, not just edge rusher, but free agent into this coming offseason is?
Trey Hendrickson.
Trey Hendrickson is correct.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you sign the number one free agent, I think we're a little jaded when it comes to the Trey Hendrickson. I certainly am, about the way that it's kind of unfolded the last few years, about him signing the extension, then immediately complaining about it, and wanting more money, and everything that has unfolded before our eyes over the last few years. We're a little jaded of that. And we're a little jaded by the fact that he's been a part of this defense for the last few seasons, and it hasn't been good. So we're just like, can we try something else? Because at some point, you're tired of trying the same thing. The old cliche, it's not the actual definition, but the old cliche of the definition of insanity is trying the old thing over and over again. That's where we're at if we continue to roll with Trey. But the best option, to be quite honest with you, is to sign Trey Hendrickson next season. Now, you got to weigh the options of how much money you're going to be spending and whatnot. But I digress.
I just think they're over it. They're over his antics, and they're just ready to move on here at this point and not pay a guy that's that old that much money. But we'll see.
The next highest edge rusher, if you're wondering, is Jalen Phillips.
Okay. Yeah, and it looks like Howie's probably going to want to hold on to him.
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah. More than likely.